Huzur says that 2 days ago, a very old servant of Ahmadiyya, respected Saheb Mirza Khursheed Saheb, has passed away. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. Allah Almighty blessed him with the spiritual and physical relationship with the promised Messiah والسلام. This is the law of Allah Almighty, that anyone who comes to this world, one day he has to leave this world behind. Everything is mortal, and the one which is permanently eternal, that is the Allah Almighty. But very fortunate are those people who in this world, in the worldly life which is given to them, those who try to make it purposeful, and the pleasure of Allah Almighty, they try to achieve that. They understand this point, that any person, a pious person, or a friend of Allah, or the relationship with a prophet, physical relationship does not make the life purposeful, nor one can attain the pleasure of Allah Almighty. Rather, the person himself, his actions and his doings is the thing which makes him unable to attain the pleasure of Allah Almighty. Hadhrat Massih has mentioned in one place that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned to Hadhrat Fatima Razillah Ta'ala Anha that, Fatima, remember that just because you are my daughter, you will not be able to get the pleasure of Allah Almighty. In order to get His pleasure, you have to make your life in accordance and to mold your life to according to the commandments of Allah Almighty. And if you do so, even then, the fear of Allah Almighty should be in the heart, so that Allah Almighty, may Allah accept my efforts and by His grace make my end a very good end. I know it personally myself, and there was a very close relationship between my relationship with Mirza Khursheed Saheb. I have seen him minutely, and the people also have written to me, and several letters I have received, that very modestly, in order to carry out his commitment of dedication and to perform his duty, he worked very hard. Never the family, in the pride of the family, he never mentioned that. Last year he was here at the time of Jalsa, so he mentioned the concern that my end should be good. He mentioned this concern to me, and he gave the example of that person that who at the time of his death, he was saying, he was a very pious person, he was saying, not yet, not yet, and he died in that state. His followers, they prayed very hard that why did he say not yet, not yet. One day one follower saw the same person in the dream, that at the time of the death, why were you saying not yet, not yet? And he said that the thing is that when it was my last moment, Satan came to me and he told me that you ran away from my hand because you have been performing very good deeds. And I have been saying that I was saying that not yet, that until the moment I have life, the last moment. So even at that moment I was saying this thing to Satan, and Allah Almighty took my life in that state, and at the moment I am in paradise. So this concern, the people, those who have this concern regarding their end, so this is the way of those people who always do like that. Anyway, this example he gave to me and he fully understood the spirit of dedication of life, and he was a very hard-working, dignified person, noble person. And according to the time here, day before yesterday, at 10 o'clock, he passed away. His age was 85. He was great grandson of Hadhrat Promised Messiah alayhi salam. Hadhrat Mirza Sultan Saheb, who was the eldest son of the Promised Messiah, he was the grandson of that. And Hadhrat Mirza Aziz Ahmad Saheb, Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, he was the son of him. Hadhrat Mirza Aziz Ahmad Saheb was that grandson of the Promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, who did in the bath before his father. 12 of September in 1932, he was born in Lahore. On 21st of April 1945, when his age was 12 and a half, he filled the form of dedication of life when he was a student in 9th class. And then he did the metric from Qadian, and then from TI college he had the education, and then under the instruction of Hadhrat Muslim Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, he went to Government College Lahore and did his masters in English. On 10th of September in 1956, he, as a devotee of life, he joined TI college in Rabwa, and for 17 years in the Department of English, he performed his duties. He used to prepare his lectures with great effort. I have also learned from him, and very many students have written to me that he used to prepare the lessons and educate them with great diligence, and he has full command over his subject. That's why the students, he was very popular among students. Students liked him very much. In 1964, for English phonetic course, he, on the scholarship of the British Council, he went to Britain, and he had this education in the university here. In 1974, I present some of his dedications to the Jamaat. In 1974, Sahibzada Mirza Khursheed Ahmad Sahib, the respected one, he, along with Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih Salis, he helped him a lot, and for his service he was there all the time. In 2-3 months he stayed in Qasr Khilafat, in the residence of the Khalifa. And similarly, Hadhrat Muslim Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, with his approval in Rabwa, for the orphans and poor children, in 1962, in the middle of that, he established Darul Iqama and Nusrat. He established that, and that Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Salis later Imdad Tulaba, the help of the deserving students. For a long period he was the overall in charge of that, and after them it was handed over to Nizar-e-Talim. On 30th of April in 73, he was appointed as Nazir Khidmat Darweshan, and from 76 to 88 he performed as additional Nazir Ala, and he had the opportunity of serving in various capacities. In October 1988, on to September in Muriama, he performed as Nazir Muriama. August 92 to May 2003, he was Nazir for External Affairs, and after that, in the beginning of my Khilafat, I appointed him as Nazir Ala, and also he was appointed Amir Muqami Rabwa, and very nicely he performed these responsibilities. He was member of Majlis-e-Iftah, jurisprudence for the 10 to 12 years. And he was member of Qaza Board for 12 years. In 1973, he was blessed to perform the Hajj, the pilgrimage. He was unable to do so. His nikah was announced on 26th of December 1955 by Hadhrat Khalifatul Massih II. There was 5 or 6 nikahs at that time. He performed that, and regarding him, Hadhrat Khalifatul Massih II said in khutbah, he says, Hadhrat Muslim Maud said that regarding Hadhrat Mirza Aziz Ahmad Saheb, that this child is also dedicated, a young man from our family. Mirza Aziz Ahmad Saheb was blessed that he was unable to educate his son to a high standard, and he is a student in MA. He has not yet passed. He has not completed, but he is giving the exam in English, and it is understood that he is very good in English. And I intend that he should be serving as a professor in college. And he also said that he may be able to do the interpretation as well. Translation. He was blessed with 6 sons, and out of 6 there are 4 sons. 2 of them are doctors. They are all dedicated. One is in Nazarat-e-Talim, and he has done the PhD. And similarly, he is in the office of Mushir-e-Kanuni, the legal advisor. He has done the law. In auxiliary organizations in various capacities, he had the honor to serve. In 2000 to 2007, he was the Sadr of Ansarullah. One of his son, Dr. Mirza Sultan Ahmad says that he was in great love with Hadhrat Khalifatul Massih II. A few years back, when he was suffering from heart disease, it was some time before, but it gradually increased. When it increased, he was in Okada at that time. From one of his son, when he came to know, immediately went to fetch him to Rabwa. Dr. Noori was along with them. So he was coming and they met on the way. He said, Mirza Khursheed Ahmad Saheb said that I was praying. The whole way, during the travel I was traveling, I was praying that I should reach Rabwa, and so that I may pass away in that town where Hadhrat Muslim Maud came and he established the township. So this was the narration of the love and affection with Hadhrat Khalifatul Massih II. And then he says that during his sickness, one night he became very restless, and he got up and he said, I have seen a long dream that some people, they are criticizing Hadhrat Khalifatul Massih II, and the people are not answering the criticism. He was very much worried that why the people are not responding to that. And in this restlessness, he could not sleep. He used to say that Khalifatul Massih II, the enemies, they are intensely in enmity against him, even before the Morden, the promised Messiah, because the opponents, they think, and this is the view of them, and to some extent it is true, that Hadhrat Muslim Maud was the one who established the administration of the Jamaat. If he had not established that according to the views of the opponents, the Jamaat would have been finished. It is the Allah's Jamaat, it has to continue. Everything was going to take place. But anyway, the opponents, many of them, they used to oppose the Khalifatul Massih II because he established the Jamaat on very firm and strong foundation. And in 1974, as I said, Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih Salis, the team which he made, he was a part of it, and he was able to serve the community at that time. And he used to live in Qasr Khilafat, the residence of the Khalifa. And after some time, 2-3 months, he was allowed to go to his home. And after 7 days, he used to go to his home for a few hours to meet his children. He says that in those days I have seen that Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih Salis, many nights he could not sleep, and he used to take some rest while sitting. And the whole day and the whole night he was busy in the service of community, day and night. And also the people on duty, they also used to keep awake. There is another narration. His son says on his behalf that in 84, in very troublesome period of 1984, he was a member of the team of Hadhrat Khalifatul Rabe, the fourth one. And he used to say that Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih Salis and Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih Rabe, the third and the fourth, whenever there were a condition of emergency, instead of getting panic at that time, instead of that, they used to remain very relaxed in those days. And he also had the honor that when Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih Rabe, he migrated, he was a member of his entourage from Rabwa to Karachi. And similarly, despite his sickness, in 2010, when the incident of Lahore took place in 2010, at that time, in those very emergency conditions, he went through this whole period. He took control of all the condition very firmly, and whenever the janaza used to come, despite the hot weather, he used to lead the prayer and go for the burial. Similarly, he was always taking care of the respect of others according to their status. Mirza Adil Ahmad, his son, says that the reports of the Rabwa, when we used to send the reports, then sometime once we made there was a lapse in this, that with the name of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, we put simply Swad, and with the promised Messiah ﷺ, we wrote the full wording of Islam. So then immediately pointed out, and he said that with the name of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, the word Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in full should be written. He was very regular in prayers. In extreme cases, he used to combine the prayers. In the last sickness, when he was in hospital, so except for a few prayers, he offered all the prayers separately at their appointed times. In the last few days, he was Nazir Ala, because there are so many responsibilities are there. So regarding the Jamaat cases, he was very much worried. He used to ask many times in hospital that what is the condition of such and such case, when is the hearing, and what is the preparation for that. And similarly, as in Nazir Ala and Amir Muqami, and the people, those who invited him on their occasions of happiness, because this is a part of my duty, because in representation of the Khalifa of the time. And on the occasion of death and sorrow, he used to visit the people, and also he used to inquire about the needy people and the sick people and visit them. And despite sickness, he used to come to office on time and stay there, and he used to work very hard. And during the last period of last sickness, he sent a circular, and he came to the office. He found so many people absent. So then he issued a circular that if I can come to the office, then why not others? From administrative point of view, wherever he had to take the grip, he was very firm in that. But he used to advise the people very lovingly and kindly. He had the honor as well that Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih Salis, Rahimahullah Ta'ala, on his demise, which took place in Islamabad in Pakistan. So then he led the janazah. So then he led the janazah prayer in Islamabad because he was the representative of Anjuman. Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih Rabe was also there. He asked him to lead the prayer. You are older than me, but he said, Hadhrat Khalifa Rabe said, the fourth said, as you are representing the Anjuman, therefore you have to lead the prayer. And similarly, Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih Salis, he also had the honor of giving bath to bathe Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih the Salis, the third. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Saheb writes that at the time of 74, he stayed here for a few months, and after that, when the situation improved, then Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih Salis said to him that now you can go home. But every day he used to come in the morning for breakfast, and he was handed over certain tasks, and every day he used to get the instructions, and then after the implementation he used to report back regularly without fail. Similarly, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib says that at the demise of Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih III, after the election of the Khalifatul Masih Rabe the fourth, on the second day, and the ring of the promised Messiah of Allah, that was misplaced somewhere, and everybody was worried. Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih Rabe was very much worried. He asked Mirza Khursheed Ahmad Sahib to come and said that you are very faithful to me, and you have been the faithful to all the Khilafat. And he said that this ring has been misplaced. Search it and find out. And later on it was found by the grace of Allah. Last year his wife passed away, and he became very sick. The heart condition was already there that became very severe. And I asked him that you come for Jalsa. First of all, he thought that perhaps he may not be able to undertake the journey. But anyway, he came, and his condition was very good. He was quite jolly and feeling better. And every day he used to come to see me, every day in the evening, whether it was the days of Jalsa. And he never cared about the weather, and he stayed here very nicely. And every evening he used to come to see me. Mukarrama Fauzi Ashmeen Sahaba Sadr Lajna Lahore says, she is the daughter of Nawab Amtul Hafiz Begum Sahaba, who is the youngest daughter of the promised Messiah ﷺ. She says that after becoming Nazir-e-Ala, his good points came to surface very brilliantly. He was very dedicated servant of Ahmadiyya, but he performed the duties, and if he was busy, then he would telephone back later on, and sometime suddenly there is an application for Maryam Shadi Fund, and I immediately phoned, and I would excuse, and I will telephone and excuse, and then he would say that get the money from Amir Sahib and make the arrangement, I will send the money. He was very disciplined. She says that I have not found any person more dedicated and who was so kind. And a girl was very sick, and I sent him the case, so he handled the case very nicely and lovingly. And he said that he was going to Qadian in those days. It was not the Jalsa occasion, but some other days. And he said that I went to the Baitul Dua and specially prayed for this girl, and she was all right, and she got married, and he sent a very beautiful set of gold for her. She was very kind. She says that whenever I sought any advice from him, he gave the very well thought advice. And now where we are going to get such a noble person? Our hearts are very filled with emotions, and Allah Almighty bring the Khilafat the best replacement for that. Chaudhry Hamidullah Saheb, Wakil Ala Tahrik Jadid, regarding him, he says, writes that in TA College, when Talimul Islam College was shifted to Rabwa in 1954, the non-Ahmadi English teachers, they remained in Lahore, did not come to Rabwa. And after that, Mirza Khursheed Ahmad Saheb in 1956, he organized the department anew, and his English was very good. We remember that during his period, the standard of English was very high during his period when he was the professor there. And regarding him, Chaudhry Hamidullah Saheb says that he was very kind-hearted and he was very forgiving. He used to look after the poor people, and personally, and as well as also as a Jamaat officer. And Jalsa Salana in Khudamul Ahmadiyya in Ansarullah, on the occasion of Jalsa Salana Qadian, all the arrangements he used to cooperate with me all the time. In the happiness and sorrow of people, he would share. And when there was a marriage or death, he would always there. A old servant, worker of Jalsa Salana passed away, and he didn't come to know, and he felt sorry for that. And another worker of Nizar-e-Awliya says that he had a lot of good qualities, impossible to mention all that. He was very kind, very courteous, very kind-hearted, and he was helpful to the people. And he was always very kind to the people, very simple in his manners, but very good qualities and very lovely personality. I had the opportunity of working with him for nearly 10 years. I had this opportunity, and I do not remember that he never ever expressed anger for anything if there was any mistake on my part. So very graciously and kindly he would advise me and guide me. Then in Nizar-e-Awliya, Murabbi Sahib, Khwaja Muzaffar Sahib, he says, he endured this long sickness very boldly, and I have the opportunity of working with him for a long period. He was very kind, more kind than the father, and he was at the high stage of serving the mankind. I have experienced that whenever any needy man or woman would come, and so he always used to give the approval of certain needs. And sometime after the person has gone back, and then he would advise them that you go to their homes and find out their real needs and desire. And this Murabbi Sahib says that next day when I used to present the report, then he would say that it appeared that they are more needy than that. And perhaps we have not helped him to that extent. So not only this, that on the demand he would help the people, rather he would investigate the real need so that the justified help can be given. He says he was very kind, balanced, always smile on the face, and very forgiving. And if the desire of the person was not fulfilled, then he would advise them very kindly and listen to carefully. This listening the complaint very diligently and with patience, that is the responsibility of all the office holders. If the complaints are listened, then so many anxieties are over. The Murabbi Sahib said, somebody standing in the office, he presented his case and he showed impatience, and he tore away the application which he brought. He kept quiet, and he might be praying for that person. And he said that the person says that I was standing there. So, but this respect, I dislike that. But he said, don't worry, let him go and don't say anything. Everybody has his own way. He says that his patience and endurance was really enviable. That despite, because he was very weak because of sickness, but he was very strong in his capabilities. His memory was also brilliant and very enviable. And his memory was very great, and a very balanced thinking was there. And hundreds of letters he used to read every day. But many a time it happened that if the case has been finished, and again a person would write again after a month or so. So then the office workers would be searching his papers, but he would remember that what effort was done and what action was taken and how many papers were there. And so it means that as if in the files of his office, he was remembering all those things, and he used to remember, and he had full ability to handle those cases. Nazim Qaza, Rashid Javed Saheb says that in one matter, the husband who wanted to make a peace and all the matters settled, but from the wife there was demand that all the money that he has taken from me he should return. But the financial condition of the husband were very weak. And Nazim Qaza says that I verbally mentioned to Mia Sahib that you please give some and some I will arrange somewhere else. He said, then I said, you are very senior, so you give all the thing. He said that if this is the case, to settle this case, write to me and I will do. And Alhamdulillah, the matter was settled like that. Murabiye, Fazle Umar Foundation, Rabbani Sahib, he says that our sister came to Rawa. She was suffering from skin disease. So she asked for allowance in the Daruzafat. They said, the worker said that exceptional permission can be obtained from Nazri Ala. But he was very busy, and the difficulty was how to see him and how to explain. But anyway, they were called to the office, just like very affectionate father. He treated them nicely, and he gave the permission for their stay and also removed their problems. And she said that our attachment with the administration of the Jamaat, that was strengthened, and also our faith increased. Amir Zilla Khushab says, Nawar Mujoka Sahib writes, he was a very good administrator, a very helpful person. In discharge of his duties, he used to take care of the minute things as well. He was very helpful to the poor people. And he says, I mentioned a small incident which has been imprinted on my mind about his personality. He says that in 2015, in the beginning, perhaps I was in my office. Two poor ladies who came from Khushab, they came to me and they said that we have been sent by Nazir Ala that I should sign the application on the recommendation of the Amir of the area. So when I interviewed them, so I decided that the information and that their help should be given on the regional level and not sending to the center, and I sent there to the regional officers, and the help was given to them. So next day I was sitting in my office, that directly Mia Sahib telephoned me and asked me that we sent two old ladies from your district and now they have come back and they haven't come back to me for the help. So I am worried that you might not have turned down their application. So make the recommendation and send them to me so that their help can be given on time. So I submitted that as we have helped them at the level of the district, so therefore we did not send them back to you. So he says that this small incident shows how kind he was to the people, poor people, and to help them he was very keen. And this is very praiseworthy. This feeling which should be there in every office holder of the Jamaat, that how we have to do the work. And it's not that simply a matter is passed on to some, but whatever application comes, the applicant also tries to follow, but the officers, they also should see to it, unless the action has been taken, that complaint has not been removed until the matter has not been settled. Until that moment, they should continue to see that and try to solve that matter as far as possible instead of just passing it away. If this condition is there in every office holder, then so many problems can immediately be solved. Hafiz Muzaffar Ahmad Saheb writes that Mia Sahib, I'm witness that in the love for Khilafat, showing that example, he has served the right of all the trust to him, that until the last moment, the obedience to the Khilafat, he did not leave any stone unturned. And he always obeyed. And although he had a very, very high office, but he was very humble, very modest, and he was having very good qualities in him. Similarly, Saheb says that in the offering of the prayer in congregation, it was a beautiful example of him. Sadr Ansarullah, when he was appointed, then every time in the meeting he used to mention about the establishment of the institution of prayer, and he would draw the attention to this point and would say that you might be seeing that I'm saying the same thing again and again, as if I am stuck to that. But this is very important. Unless we are able to discharge this responsibility, it is my responsibility to go on reminding. And the office holders, some office holders I have seen, that they sometimes are not regular in their offering the prayer, sometimes they leave it. And similarly, whether it was summer or winter, he used to go to mosque without fail. Hafsab says that his kindness and forgiveness and kindness, it's very difficult to forget that. Regularly, he would come regularly, and that was an example for us. A worker in the office, Nazarat-e-Uliya, he writes that it's very difficult to follow his good example. He used to come on time, and he was busy in the office duties, and he always give the service the religion preferred on his his personal desires. And in the last period of his life, there was trouble in breathing at the end. But he would try to hide this difficulty. And once I said that today you are not feeling well, Mia Sahib told me that today I'm not feeling well, so I won't be able to stay long. I will go back early. But whatever the work is there that we have to do. He asked the clerk that whatever is the mail, please bring it quickly. The worker says that according to the instruction, I presented the post very quickly, and he put some signatures on files, and he said later on I will sign. But he said that no, get all the signature on from me, and after giving the instruction, and he met some Naziran, and then he go home. And he showed us by his example that how the dedicated work of the Jamaat is to be done. Murabi Silsila Malik Muhammad Afzal Sahib, he says that to come early in the mosque and stay in the mosque, and during the Ramzan, and also to attend diligently the Darsul Quran. And if there was a problem presented, then he would listen to all the problems in detail and propose the solution of that. So these are the things that the residents of Rabwa, they would experience that thing every day. During the study of Jamia, once somebody says that I was worried about my situation regarding the study. I was very much worried. The prayer was the only answer. So he says that I went to Mirza Khursheed Ahmad Saheb, and despite his immense engagement, but he invited me to come to his office. And when I mentioned everything in detail, so my purpose was simply prayer, but he listened to my prayer and asked me several questions. And he says that I did not even have in mind that I will get so much time. But he was very kind to the extent, to the maximum, and he gave me the time. And when I came out of his office, so I was very much relieved from the burden that I had. And a new hope, with that new hope I came out from his office. So this is the satisfaction, which is the responsibility of all office holders, that one should try to satisfy other people when they come to them. He says that he was very kind, he was an angelic person. One person told me that then when I was in my teenager, so I was learning how to ride the motorbike, Mirza Khursheed Saheb, I hit the bike to a fence near his house. So he himself was watering the fence outside. I was very much worried and very ashamed. Was on top of that. So and on top of that, I was underage driver. And if there had been somebody else instead of him, then he would have scolded me. But he was so kind and so courteous that he helped me to get up, and then asked that haven't you suffered any injury? So, and then very kindly he said that value your life, take care of that. And similarly with the Murabbiyan and Waqifin Zindagi, devotees of life, he used to be very kind. His knowledge was very vast. Despite that fact that he knew his knowledge was very vast, he was very kind. And he used to say as if he didn't know those things. And on the convocation of Jamia Shahid, and when I appointed him my representative, then he mentioned at that time that in his lecture he mentioned, he addressed the students of Jamia, that I have been, I love to listen to the missionaries and the Murabbi all the time. How can I open my tongue in front of them? So, but then he advised and told them, and apart from so many other things, he said that I will simply mention that, the most important thing is that the instructions which are given by the Khalifatul Massih, you listen to that, ponder over that, and as far as possible, and as far as it is possible for the office workers and for those you who are the missionaries and the missionaries, you act upon that. So you always take care of these instructions and try to comply with it, and also pray that Allah Almighty enable us to comply with that. Then Murabbi Silsila, Buddha Malik Masood Saheb, he says, I had many meetings with him. Every meeting was full of affection and kindness, and he was very great, loving and kind, and a man of good manners. He was modest, personified, and he always would stand up and hand shake with the person who come, whether it's a small child or whosoever came to meet. He would leave his important thing, and with great interest he would carefully listen to whatever he used to say. So therefore all the people used to come with their complaints, and he would listen. And in the office, rich and old, and all the people were treated nicely, and he used to such a reaction as if he is really touched by that. Dr. Nuri Sahib writes that the feelings and the sentiments of the people, he used to take care even more than those people. He says that once a patient was given the relief of half of the expense for angioplasty. When he contacted Nazri Allah, so then he waived away all the expense. And Dr. Nuri Sahib said that the Khalifa Waqt, the time, has given me the instruction that all the deserving patients should be helped. So therefore, to help him is our duty. And then he says when he was under treatment in hospital for the nurses and the under training nurses, and he said that get all the expense from my son and they should be provided the sweaters from this money. And Dr. Saheb says that one day he wrote to me that some sentiments are such that it's difficult to mention through words. Face to face, it is very difficult. He says, so he says that this is my condition when I left the hospital. Allah Almighty reward you abundantly for all the service. Then Huzur says, the attachment of devotion with Khilafat, with Tahir Heart Institute, he had a very special sentiments in relation with it. Nuri Sahib once said that Nuri, Tahir Heart is like a child of the Khalifa of the time. So may Allah fulfill this desire of the Khalifa, and this should become really a means of relief and recovery for the patients. And he said to Nuri Sahib that I always pray that Allah Almighty enable you to fulfill all the desires of the Khalifa of the time. He said that when during the sickness, his daily report used to come to me. So whenever, and one day he held my head, and he held my hand and said that is there only thing, the sickness and this thing, this is the only thing that we can report to the Khalifa of the time. And there are letters from so many other people. They have mentioned their qualities, and everyone has mentioned about his modesty and humbleness. The relationship with Khilafat and the love that he had, mentioning that he once mentioned to my wife that when my wife told him that you must be praying for the Khalifa of the time, so you also pray for me and for my children. So he said that Khalifa worked for the time. In those sajda prostrations, I also pray for the wife. And when he was saying, he became very emotional when he was saying that. And his obedience of his senior officer, his standard was very high. Hadhrat Khalifatul Massih, during his sickness, it is in 2000, Mirza Khursheed Ahmad Saheb and myself, we came into London. At that time I was Nazir Ala. On something, there was a difference of opinion on certain matter. On that he rejected my point, and the matter finished after that. So a few days before him, I went back from London to Rabwa, and he came a bit later, and he came to my office, and he was sitting very serious in a mood, and he said that I have come to apologize. I made a great mistake at that time. I said, I don't know what is the mistake. And he said that the difference of opinion that I mentioned in Lahore, in London, there was some element of anger in that. And this thing is against the respect of the Amir. So therefore I seek your forgiveness. And despite my saying that there is nothing, forget it, but he continued apologizing about that. So this was his modesty and humbleness and the respect of the Amir. And then the aspects of reformation he used to start from his home. It's not that he would reform other people and not pay attention to his own children. A few years back, regarding the member of the progeny of the promised Messiah, والسلام, I wrote them a letter and reminded them their responsibility to the family of the promised Messiah, and some complaints that I have received. In a general way, I mentioned that such complaints should be removed. And I sent this letter, which I sent to Pakistan, and I said that all the members of the family of the promised Messiah, so they should be brought together and they should be made to read it. So when he read out this letter to all the members of the family, so very emotionally he said that let me make it clear that my family is also not exempt in it. The points which have been pointed out, they are also not exempt from that. And I tell them and their progeny and their children, I advise them that we have to remove these weaknesses. And the Khalifa of the time, whatever expectation he has, we have to try to come up to that expectation. So this was his honesty and the standard of righteousness. Allah Almighty enable his progeny to uphold his standards. Allah Almighty enable the Jamaat and Khalifatul Ahmadiyya. Bless Allah Almighty, bless such dedicated and righteous helpers to Khalifatul Ahmadiyya. Mirza Saheb, he has written to me. He says he is the eldest son of Hadhrat Khalifatul Massih. He says that Bhai Khursheed, the brother Khursheed, he was sitting at the feet of Khilafat and he continued to serve the Khilafat till the last moment. Allah Almighty may exalt his station and accept his services, and Allah Almighty keep him under the shade of his mercy. He has done his duty fully, and absolutely he has written, certainly he has fulfilled his duty to the best. Allah Almighty enable us that we may also be doing our duties to the fullest. After the Namaz-e-Jummah and the two prayers, I will be leading the Janaza prayer in absentia.